Good evening, everybody. As always, I'm the obligatory 10 minutes late. I think that's just how I do things at the moment. Yes, 10 minutes almost exactly. Sorry if you've been waiting on me. Again, I've been away making my nice golden milk. And I shared with you on the email today that I was feeling my week had been quite a struggle. And yeah, I'd had a bit of a cold at the start of the week, which I thought had kind of lifted, and it did actually. After about 2 days, I was really clear. But my husband's not been feeling very well, and I think I've got some sort of sickness bug, maybe, I'm not sure, but I've been sick a couple of times, and I'm just feeling like I'm dragging myself around, really. But my husband and I have both been in the house today, and we've just been taking it really slow. And I've just been trying to look after myself. I knew that I really wanted to be here and do this evening because it gives me that continuity. And as somebody who historically has been very bad at showing up for things and showing up in my life, this feels like the most sort of comforting antidote to all of those years where I wasn't really present. I wasn't really present in my own life. And I was going to put in the email today, where are you? Where are you right now in your life? What can you bring to this evening, exactly as it is, exactly as you are? But what are you sitting with? What is it that's really intense for you at the moment? There's normally always something that's pulling on me or asking for my attention. And I don't mean my children or just the obvious demands of life. I mean that thing in my mind or that thing that's connected to my heart that is constantly informing me of who I want to be as I move through my day and who it is that I'm trying to be in my life. And I think that every day I'm sort of looking to something. I'm looking for support and inspiration, and I always find it. I always get this sort of download or the nugget of information, the sort of desire that comes up in me as a sort of signpost that's saying, informing me about what would feel really good to me. And normally once I've had that sort of feeling about something that I want to do, somewhere that I'd like to go, a piece of music that's inspired me, anything that gets me in that frame of mind where I'm more optimistic, and more aware, just more switched on to myself, more in tune with what I'm feeling. And very often that can come from a really pessimistic thought or a really negative thought, a really draining thought. And I think that's why I had this feeling tonight that what I wanted to ask you all was what are you sitting with right now? What's been asking for your attention? What keeps coming up in your life? What keeps coming up in you that isn't going away? That's a really sticky and possibly uncomfortable thought or feeling, one that you try to move away from or try to get past or recede sort of back into denial with. I think it can just be so powerful to acknowledge that it's there, and to sort of hold hands with it and have that as your companion as you navigate your day and dance through your life. And for me anyway, it's what happens in between that, the thought of who I want to be and the thought of who I am, and the experience of both of those things, and how can I somehow in the midst of that that contrast. How can I rise up and find a way to serve myself and be of service in my life? Because I do think that's where real life happens. We do have an ideal self. We do have a person or an idea of the person that we want to be or think or wish that we could be. And then we have the opposite, which is the struggle to connect to that person, when we feel the disparity or we feel the distance between those two things. But somewhere in between that is us, is who we actually are right now, as I am speaking to you, as I'm listening, as I'm taking everything in. I think that's where our work is, that's where our power is, that's where we get to do something with our lives. And I think so often we sort of just become bogged down with the contrast. This is what I want, this is what I've got. And there's that sort of resignation, and we sort of just truck through our moments and feel the weight, feel the heaviness in that. And my feeling right now is, how can we elevate ourselves in that? How can that be the thing that gives us the great day or the great feeling or the sense of joy or the sense of relief? And I know it can, because I do it frequently, but I also frequently become entrenched in that sort of old way of feeling about myself. And I've actually got a lovely poem that sort of I stumbled upon today, and I kind of thought, I'm tired. I know I'm going to show up for this evening, but I've not done the usual preparation. Normally I'd have a question in mind, and I would really allow myself to sort of meander through all my different readings and sift through it and pick things out that really feel good to me, so that I can bring some of that to you, whatever that thing is that inspires us. And I found this today, and it was actually something that one of the mums that I know shared, and I thought that was perfect. It's called The Laughing Heart, and it's by Charles Bukowski. So he writes, "Your life is your life. Don't let it be clubbed into dank submission. Be on the watch. There are ways out. There is light somewhere. It may not be much light, but it beats the darkness. Be on the watch. The gods will offer you chances. Know them. Take them. You can't beat death, but you can beat death in life sometimes. And the more often you learn to do it, the more light there will be. Your life is your life. Know it while you have it. You are marvelous. The gods wait to delight in you." And I've read that a couple of times, and I've sort of, in reading it there, the thing that really came from me, or the thing that I sort of clicked this time round, was you can beat death in life sometimes. And I think for me, I want that sometimes to be mostly all of the time, because I feel that when we do become bogged down with all the darkness, and when we do feel like we've been beaten into submission, we're not really living our life. We're sort of zombies. We're just sort of going through the motions. And I think every time that we take those feelings and we bring the light into them, we sort of save ourselves from dying a little bit inside. And I guess I spent a long time feeling like, like feeling these little mini deaths, just inside, just through not doing the thing that I said I was going to do, or not fully showing up, even when I did do the thing. University is a really good example for me. I went there to study a subject that I love, but I didn't love it when I got there. And I, at that time, loved sleeping more and loved being on my own more, and fell into this really ingrained pattern, actually, that I had been in through my adolescence. As a way to comfort myself and as a way to sort of escape what felt to me like a very harsh world, and one that I actually didn't feel like I really fitted into. And yeah, I guess that in doing that, you die a little bit inside every time you fail to live your life and live in the world and connect with people, and not have it be just a complete drain. And I guess we always get a barometer on just where we are within ourselves by how capable we are to be around other people and be okay in it. And that's something that I'm, like this poem says, there's so much I'm on guard for, that I'm watching out for, and those things are signals within me. That's what I'm watching for. Now I know that if I'm in too big a crowd or too loud an environment, I will feel headachy and just off, sort of distracted but withdrawn. And I've come to realise that I don't know that the term introvert is accurate, but I definitely feel overstimulated very easily, and I think that's down to sort of a sensitivity. I feel like I can I pick up on a vibe or an energy, and if it's not the one that's sitting nicely with me, then it's painful. It's physically painful. So there's something about recognizing what's good for you and what feels right to you, and confusing that with just I'm not of the world, or I don't like people, or I can't really engage fully for some reason. That's really different, and that's kind of what I used to do. And now when I reflect on it and I look back, I can feel a real sadness. You know, where was I all that time? What was I really doing with my life? It's a big thing to come to terms with, actually, to feel like you've been off the radar in your own existence. And I guess that's why I show up now, and it's why I prioritise being watchful of myself and of the world, and how I do that dance. And I prefer to see it as a dance now because I can be part of it. And the way I live now allows me to be in motion and to allow myself the stillness when I need it, and to cultivate that kind of inner stillness, just regardless of the environment and the context. And I'm sure that being a mother has been the thing that really was the catalyst for it, because children can be really noisy and really intense, and if you're not careful, all of that would just be completely overbearing and overwhelming, and you'd probably want to run screaming away from it, because there's an immediacy about everything that a child is. And actually, I noticed that immediacy of need, like if they're needing something, they're needing it right now, and they're quite insistent on what they need. And that's such a lovely thing. But it's something that parents and adults tend to sort of not know what to do with, or feel like it's something that we have to correct, or I don't know. It somehow creates a bit of friction. Um, but ultimately, it's about what's going on inside the parent or the person. And I think that's why, to me anyway, my children are my biggest teachers, and they have snapped me out of my own past and my own delusions and my own pain, but they have also brought it sort of thundering back to me. And it's done both of these things, and there's been a dance in that too. Having to constantly know what I need and know what I can have, and find a way in between those two things to actually just be present and be of service to, say, my child, while I'm also serving my own needs. And that can sometimes be impossible. Sometimes there's just a hell of a lot of surrender. And I come back to myself once there's a time. And it happened today because I did need time, and I felt that to be here with you, I was going to have to dig deep this evening, and I was going to have to really go to the part of myself that's new and still growing, and I was going to have to be in that place, and that I was going to have to give that as much of my light and love as I could, for it to remain healthy for me, and for it to remain purposeful in the context of what I'm hoping we're doing together in this kind of dance. And so I did the what would feel good to me right now, and that thing was a foot bath. And I bought a lovely, I don't know, porcelain, a big porcelain bowl from a little antique place just really close to me. And it's got these lovely little blue flowers all around the inside of it. And I took it downstairs, I filled it up with water, I added my Epsom salts and my magnesium flakes, and I put a bit of essential oils in. And the sun was just like splitting the sky. This was about 5 o'clock. I knew it was kind of coming to the evening rush of dinner and bed and all of that. But I knew I had to take the time for myself. So I let Neil know that I was going to go outside and do this. And even just taking those, what turned out to be, it was meant to sort of be, say, 20 minutes or so to get the benefit of the salts. But as always, I sat down. There's a nice little built-in bench area, and everything was kind of perfect. The sheepskin was out. I sat down. I made sure I was comfortable. I had everything I needed. I'd made some apple cider vinegar and honey, and a bit of pink Himalayan salt, and like a little, just like this, actually, in one of these, because I thought that would sort of cleanse me and boost me. It's good for the immune system. So I was trying to cover all bases in this time frame. And I sat down, put my feet in the bowl, and then I heard my daughter just like screaming from inside the house. And I sat and I just thought, well, this is typical. Like, I mean, I didn't even know where she was, but it was loud. Like, I could really hear her. And part of me was having a bit of a protest. I was feeling like, damn it, I need this right now. And I need to be sitting here feeling this sort of evening sun and breathing deeply and noticing and just having that quiet reflection, which I was really trying to get in that vibe. But I knew the timing was off, and I knew that somehow she needed me. So I had my phone and I called inside and I asked what was wrong, and she spoke to me. She actually spoke to me on the phone, and she didn't know where I was. And then she said she would be out in 5 minutes, and she did. So I just spent the next couple of minutes really plugging into myself and doing what I felt I could without it feeling like some sort of chore now. Because very often when I am interrupted in the midst of something like that, it sort of feels contaminated thereafter. Like I feel like I can't get quite back into it. I used to really feel like that with meditation, and it's been like life-changing that it's not like that now, that it actually, I can come out of it and do it, you know, clean a bottom, change a nappy, put on a film or something, just deal with what needs me right now, and then I can sit back into the meditation. So I just did what I could with what I had, and then Robin came out and she had a little backpack, and had packed it really conscientiously. She deliberately picked certain things, and she came out and she was offering me water, and she'd been so kind and so thoughtful, and it was lovely. But I'm thankful that I was able to have both of those things. Now that was me sort of up to my neck in the contrast, the ideal and the real, and they're always both there, and I'm always somewhere in the middle, and it's becoming a more and more interesting process for me the more I acknowledge that is kind of where life happens, in the messy, in the imperfect part. And the more we fight that, and the more we resist it, and the more we find evidence to hate it, and the more we beat ourselves up in it, and the more we decide that we're a failure as a result of it, that is misery. That is depression to me. That is that emptying sadness, or that bleakness of thought. I think that's what comes of this inability to just be where we are with what we've got. And yeah, it's something that keeps me in my spiritual practice. It keeps me humble. It really, really keeps me switched on and aware, because it is imperfect, and it's so difficult to navigate that imperfection, especially with social media. I find that one of the hardest things to keep hold of myself in, and to stay very kind to myself in. And again, that happened today. I sort of rediscovered an old blog that I used to like follow avidly, and it's a sort of mummy blog, and this mother is just, well, looks, I mean, she does incredible things, and you know, from an outside perspective, it looks like she's doing these godly things, these things that how could I ever do this? Like, how could I ever consistently do these things? It's like crafts and literacy, numeracy things, and like all kinds of games and tasks and creative stuff. And you know, I think I do stuff with Robin or Noah, and then I look at this and I get oh my god, like I'm nowhere. I'm barely on the map here. Like, look what this woman is doing, like, and she appears to be loving it, and it appears to be really effortless and natural, and my god, the pictures are amazing, and her children look perfect, and you start, it just snowballs. I look at every subsequent pictures, God forbid it's on Instagram. And that's what happened. I actually found her on Instagram. I'd only known her blog. I didn't know she was on Instagram. And it just came up as something I might like. But once I acknowledged what I was doing, that it had quickly gone from inspiration and appreciation and total gratitude. Wow, look at this woman. This is incredible. She's doing something really valuable and really important here, and it's beautiful. It's just she's connected. She's really connected. And I had all of those feelings, and then suddenly it was, oh shit. I mean, what am I doing? When was the last time I did anything this like amazing with Robin? Like, you know, like I think the thing that finally broke me was Story Stones, which I thought, oh, this is just awesome. And it was these gorgeous little stones that they'd collected, and then they'd taken, like, I think it was the Goldilocks, the narrative of Goldilocks, and they'd hand painted these really flat, smooth stones with Goldilocks and the three bears and the three bowls of porridge. And this was to be an open-ended sort of play game with your child. So you would encourage them to use the stones and let them interplay, and there'd be all different things that they would learn without realizing that that's kind of what they were doing. But it was gorgeous, and everything she does is really artistic and creative and really inspiring. And yeah, I could see that I was doing that I'm not good enough thing. I'm not doing enough. I'm not being enough. I'm failing Robin or Noah. I'm letting myself down. I'm not being the mother that I want to be, and all this stuff. And we do it. And I think we probably all do it to ourselves every day. And maybe it's over the way we eat, or the relationships we keep attracting, or the dynamic we have with our parents, or the things that niggle at us, the type of people that frustrate us. The whole thing is just like, we're so ready to just jump on that bandwagon and be really hard on ourselves, and consequently really unavailable to other people. And yeah, that's huge. I think that's a huge thing for everyone, but it becomes doubly challenging, I think, when you are intentionally mindful of it, and you are always in your awareness, and you are striving and constantly trying to come back to yourself, and constantly trying to realign and just have that pause, and to just give yourself a bit of tenderness, a bit of, oh, you know, it's okay, like, everything's all right. It is great that you want that, and I will have these conversations with myself, by the way. Like, I will sort of stop and just, sometimes I just put my hand to my heart, or to wherever I feel it in my body. Sometimes my throat feels like it's got a sort of lump in it, or yeah, I feel a sort of tension and a blockage almost physically. Sometimes my stomach churns a bit, and most often though, it's just, I just need to come back to myself and to my heart, and to have a little conversation with myself that goes along the lines of, you are enough. You know, I can acknowledge the struggle, I can acknowledge the pain, I can acknowledge the contrast, but I don't need to harm myself, and I don't need to detract from my self-worth, and I don't need to feel lesser than. I don't have to do that. I can do something else with that discomfort. And I do. Most of the time, I really do. But to me, that is my spiritual practice. That's where I feel like that's where I know at the end of my life, that's where I know I was truly myself, and truly excuse me, making the most of my time here. And what is it Charles says? Sorry. Your life is your life. Know it while you have it. Know it while you have it. And how many of us are really doing that? It's a hard one to come to terms with, because And I think that's why so many of us stand back and really resist it, because we have to acknowledge the pain that comes up when we see how we have been living, and then we have to come to terms with all of that stuff, the stuff that created the pain and that sustained it and that's disallowed us from moving past it. And all those chinks in our armour are there, but they're there for us to just hold and to just be with and to just know ourselves in the midst of, I guess. And that's why that little poem popping up just sort of when I needed it. And that's something else that I feel that I've battled with for a long time is everybody else has already done it. What have I got to offer? Even if I am the craftiest mum known to man, somebody else has already been a crafty mum, probably 10 times better. Same with my songwriting, same with my time here with you, with the circle I'm trying to create. You know, there's circles everywhere of women doing this stuff, and what's the point in me doing it? Like, that's the thought that I battle with a lot. But there is a point, and I always have to come back to gently reminding myself of the point, and the point is that I'm doing it. That is the point. It's not about what it cultivates at the end of the day. It's not about it's not about what the finished product is. Well, in this sort of situation, there's never a finished product. But yeah, it's simply about just being in it. And I've been a sort of on the sidelines person. This is my little cold cough coming back up to bother me. And actually in the circle that I'm in, we've just started working on the throat chakra. And I had said to my sister that I was feeling really drawn to the colour blue. Like, I think I said to her something like, I'm craving blue the way I would crave chocolate. And it was really weird. Like, I don't know why, it just felt so, it felt so refreshing and so comforting. Every time I had a sense of blue, and I didn't even need to see it, but I would get a sense of the colour blue, and I don't know, it's a very, it's a bit of a strange thing, but that was happening. Excuse me. And then, lo and behold, when I started on this was on Wednesday just there, that we started on our new topic. And it's on the throat chakra, and the throat chakra is connected to the colour blue. And suddenly it made sense to me, because I'm paying, and have been paying, a hell of a lot of attention to the way I speak and how I use my words, and how powerful a communication tool our tone of voice is, and the words we choose to speak are. And how I think one of the things they said was the tongue can cut, but it can also heal. And how true is that? I think as women we're especially good at the cutting stuff. And it's something that I always try to bring my consciousness to, and my softness to, because the healing dimension of a woman is so powerful. And everything that's ever healed me in life has been another woman's presence, another woman's words, a real strong sense of who that woman is. I struggle to find anything more nurturing to me than watching a woman who is deeply in her truth and giving from that place and speaking with that sort of eloquence and not coughing, but speaking from a place that's really fluid and really connected and grounding and powerful, but not aggressive. We all are so aware of this masculine energy that we live in and that we, I don't want to say are oppressed by. We've come so far, but I think we are our own oppressors in a way, because as women we tend to think still in a very masculine paradigm, in terms of how to be successful and how to live our truth. For me anyway, it very much feels like I was never going to thrive in that sort of dog eat dog world where competition is rife. And these are things that are much more easy, and it's not even true that it's good for all men or that it's easier for all men, but it's certainly more of a masculine energy, that sort of thing. And I just don't like competition. I don't like the seed that it's growing from, and that's not how I want to live. And I've always felt in those kind of environments that there's that hierarchy and structure and the whole boss and that whole thing of like, I really struggle with that. I kind of want things to be a lot more equal. But there's so much to be said for me anyway, to know what the point is for myself and to be able to create my life around that point. Not to keep spinning on what everyone else is doing and how well they're all doing it, and my God, and we're all doing that, and it's just, and it sort of terrifies me because it's so wasteful. It's like all we've got of ourselves to give is that commitment to our path and commitment to what we love. And we tend to see people on the ascendant, like it's when they've gotten there, it's when they're up there and they appear to have all the things that we can only dream of. And those are the people that we look to and in equal measure feel dwarfed by. And very often we feel dwarfed by our own selves, by our own feelings, by all the stuff that we hold that we don't know what to do with. And that is, for me, where the living is and the growing is, and where all the lovely, messy stuff is that makes life so interesting, I guess. And on that, I found this lovely, I don't know if you've heard of a woman called Patty or Pat Schneider, and she writes about, I think it's called, I can't remember what it's called, something about ordinary things anyway. And I'll read this to you. It is a kind of love, is it not? Oops, my phone's going off. How the cup holds the tea, how the chair stands sturdily and foursquare, how the floor receives the bottom of shoes or toes. Oops. How soles of feet know where they're supposed to be. I've been thinking about the patience of ordinary things, how clothes wait patiently, respectfully in closets, and soap dries quietly in the dish, and towels drink the wet from the skin of the back. And the lovely repetition of stairs, and what is more generous than a window. Wow. Yes, it's the ordinary things. And more than that, which is so beautiful, that I love, that I found out, is that idea of the patience of ordinary things. And I can't find a way to put that into words, but it is something that I felt I was really noticing, was all the inanimate sort of objects in my life, all the things that are there, and actually all the things that will outlive me, I guess. And the reason I was thinking about it, I was visiting my granda, and we were out in the sunshine, we were in his front garden, and I noticed, like, it's always been there, but for some reason I noticed it more than I usually would. And it's just a white plastic plant stand. And there it was, sort of discarded at a corner of the garden, like by a hedge. And I vividly remember that plant stand having a plant on it. And it was when my gran was alive. Or that's my last memory of that being a sort of functional item, not just something that there's no use for anymore, I guess. And it made me really sad. And it also was like a huge reality check, because how can it be that something as, I don't know, insignificant perhaps as that bit of plastic can be sitting in that garden 20 odd years after my gran has left this earth, and the bloody plant stand has outlived her. Like, in that, I find it kind of hilarious, but also so, it kind of freaks me out. It's like, oh my God, like, this computer could easily outlive me, as could everything else here. Like, and I find that with buildings. I think that's why I'm really drawn to architecture. And I know it's why I love living in old buildings. Because these walls have held so much and know so much I never will. And I love that. So this evening or this weekend, be mindful of the dance, be mindful of when you're getting caught up in your ideal self and your real self, the self that is you right now, and where that opening is, somewhere in between, that lets you bring the light in. And perhaps it is just that patience in ordinary things. There is something so mundane and so taken for granted about just this moment, just this breath, just this exact point in our life. Well, we are kind of glorious, and it is kind of mind-boggling and incredible. And if we can be in that spirit of awareness, if we can be loving ourselves all the more deeply in that struggle or in that dance, however it feels, and to be able to just check in with ourselves and to know that everything's okay, and to really cultivate that relationship with ourselves in this moment that is tuned into exactly what we need. We don't have to go looking. We don't have to be outside of ourselves. We don't even have to be in our mind. We intellectualize so much and we rationalize away so much of what is powerful and liberating for us in life, and we do something else with it because we can't stand the feeling, or we can't stand the fear that comes with it. And I think there is something incredibly courageous about constantly confronting this moment and who we are in this moment, even when we're being the things we don't want to be. It still gives us the contrast. It still gives us the opening. It still gives us the opportunity to move differently. So I think this evening I'm going to notice the contrast that I'm in, which is I want to be here, but I also want to be in bed because this cough is like really getting in the way. And yeah, it's been a long week, and I think part of the thing that I was doing about the throat chakra and about communication, I'd kind of find it comical and quite interesting that I developed a cough at just that point. Like, it really hinders communication. So maybe I need to take a wee note of that, and maybe I need to just rest my voice and just be with myself as I get myself better. I kind of thought I was better, but I've maybe just been doing too much while I should have just been more gently moving towards getting back up to full speed. So thank you so much for being here this evening. I'll double check the time. Yeah, that's been lovely. I hope you have a really nice weekend, and I'm going to send you a lovely little short film. I think it's only like a couple of minutes, but it's on the Laughing Heart, the poem by Charles, forgotten his last name. But it's a lovely wee short film, and I find it really lovely to watch, so I really hope you do too. So I'll go, and I will follow up with a quick email, and it's been so lovely. Thank you for being here this evening. I'm so glad that I did this. I had sort of wondered if I should just not do it, but as always, as I know, it does elevate me and it gives me something, and I can only hope that it does that for you too. So have a wonderful weekend. I'll be in touch through the week, and really think on those things about ordinary things and about the patience of ordinary things, and giving yourself some real patience and tenderness in the contrast of your life. And I'll be holding that this weekend, and it's something I hold every day, but it's lovely to know that other people are doing it with me. So remember, it can be simple as just stopping and actually putting your hand to your heart and taking some breaths, and let yourself know that you're there for you. And yeah, think beautiful things about yourself if you can. So good evening. I'm off to bed with my golden milk, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, and I'll see you this time next week.